So till now we have seen what are the different kind of exceptions, what are the exceptions, and how the exceptions are thrown by Java runtime system, and how we can catch them or handle them using try catch. Now let's say till now we have been handling exceptions that are thrown by the Java runtime systems. Now what do I want is that I want to throw my own exceptions. So many times what happens is that you write the code and based on certain scenarios you throw the exceptions. So just like what happened in case of Java runtime is that wherever something happened like divide by 0 or something, the runtime system realize that okay, this is something that is abnormal and we have to throw an exception here. Similarly, some things which might not be abnormal as per the runtime system but might be abnormal for you, you want to throw exceptions at this particular place or those particular places. So let's see, when you have to throw exceptions in your code, how you can do it. Let's say own code. Okay, so let's say I want to throw null pointer exception. So we can either throw predefined or inbuilt exceptions, or we can throw exceptions created by us. So or I can create my own exceptions. So right now I'll just talk about predefined exception. Going ahead we will see how we can create our own exception. The way of throwing both the exceptions is going to be same. It's just that this predefined exception is something that we already have, but many a times these exceptions are not sufficient and we have to create our own exceptions. We can do that, and as I said, the way of throwing both the exceptions will be same. Now let's say I write a method static void, let's say print, and let's say it is accepting a parameter a. Now what I'm going to do is that if a is equivalent to 0, I just want to throw null pointer exception. Let's say that is my use case right now. So how do we throw exceptions? We throw exception using the keyword throw. So we throw exceptions using the keyword throw. So this is the keyword that you have to use, and you have to put in the exception that you want to throw. So here we want to throw null pointer exception. So we'll create an object of null pointer exception. Let's say I pass some message here exe. So now what happens is that this is an exception that is already defined in Java. So whenever you do this new null pointer exception exe, so we have seen this several times, what will happen is that a new object will be created, and the constructor of null pointer exception, which is accepting a single parameter, a string parameter, will get called. So this is what is going to happen. So this is how we throw an exception. I'll repeat, you just have the throw keyword and you have the object. So we could have created this object beforehand as well and we could have thrown it, or here we are just creating the object and we are throwing it simultaneously. Now let's say we have thrown this particular exception. What is going to happen next? Who is going to handle it? Who is going to catch it? So we can catch this particular exception here only using try catch. So let's just put try catch. So the method of handling will be exactly same like we have seen till now. So we'll have a catch that is going to handle this particular exception. Everything remains the same for try catch which we have seen. Or what we can do is, if let's say we don't have try catch here, we have simply static void print int a. So in this case we are not handling this throw or this exception in this print method. So what happens is that this exception now passes on or is thrown to the method that called this print method. So let's say we have main, and this main called this particular, it's public static void main, this main called this particular method. So now what we have to do is, the place from where this particular method was called, that has to be inside try catch, or the part of code where this particular method was called has to be inside try catch. So we simply have to do try and we have to call print from here. Let's say I pass the parameter and we have to put the catch here and the relevant stuffs. So here we are handling this particular exception that was thrown from print. Now what happens if we don't handle this particular exception here as well? Obviously what will happen is that your program will get terminated since we are not handling the exception. right? So this is how we use throw. So now we have seen two scenarios. One is here, that we are catching it here, we are handling it here. Another is that we are not handling it here, we are simply handling it here. One more situation could be that we catch it here and then we rethrow it. So there is something called rethrowing an exception. So what happens in case of rethrowing is an exception is that we catch an exception once and then we throw it again. So here what will happen is we'll have try if a is equivalent to 0. We, let's say here we throw the exception, and then we have a catch block. Let's say I have the parameter here. I'll just simply, let's say, print out something. And then from here I'll throw the exception again. So let's say here I'm handling the exception as null pointer exception E. So now what I'll do is I'll catch this particular exception here and I'll throw it again using the keyword throw, and since E is the object already here, I'll just simply throw E. So in this case again what will happen is that this exception will be thrown to this particular method, to this place where this method was called, and we have to ensure that we are handling it here properly, else again my code will get terminated. So that is about throwing exception. So now a very important or very common interview question that comes up is the difference between throw and throws. So we have seen that there is try catch, there is throw, and there is something called throws. So since these throw and throws are very much similar, students often get confused between the two. So let's just go ahead and try to understand throws as well, and make sure you understand it well so that you're able to answer it well in your next interview. So now let's go ahead and see what is throws, what is the use of it, and where do we use it.